Good morning, everybody. This is a live emergency briefing on the ice storm that is imminent across large swaths of Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, central and northern Arkansas. My plan is to intercept this event on the southern edge of the Ozark Plateau. I do think I'm going to have to hedge a little bit further south for the pure freezing rain event, which is why I'm considering a Hot Springs to Little Rock target. I do think it could be all sleet a little bit further north, where some of the 3-kilometer NAM is definitely showing freezing rain up the Conway area, up into the Ozarks as well, to the north of I-40, up through the Jonesboro area, southeastern Missouri, far southern Illinois as well. So I've got a lot of decisions to make. Here is the loop, the latest NAM model, showing you the accumulation, ice accumulation, freezing rain out there. Probably will get close to a half an inch of freezing rain, especially along the southern edge of that swath. Looks like southeastern Oklahoma, maybe toward Fort Smith. I could see it being all sleet, Fort Smith, and even along the I-40 corridor. But there is going to be a stripe of pure freezing rain somewhere, but it requires the perfect balance of the cold air at the surface and that warm nose. It's a lot easier to get sleet as opposed to pure freezing rain. So that's what I am trying to decide right now. Here is the NAM model showing you that sleet, first round of sleet, and freezing rain moves through northern Arkansas. That's what's happening right now across central Oklahoma. And then you get that streamer of pure freezing rain behind it. There you go. That streamer sets up across central Arkansas. That's going to be the pure freezing rain event. The blob of sleet first is going to move through, though, as well. Oklahoma City is getting dominated by sleet so far this morning. Temperatures are in the teens. And look at this heavy precipitation here. Classic sleet event, sleet bag event impacting Norman. Could even get a couple inches of sleet out there, maybe even more than that. Typically, sleet provides a little bit more traction on the roads and is a best case scenario for an ice storm, even compared to snow. It offers a lot more traction on the roads as well. But you can start to see this precipitation moving in through eastern Oklahoma, starting to move into the Tulsa area as well. Nice stripe of sleet moving up, possibly some freezing rain as well, moving up through western Arkansas, impacting the Hot Springs area. Those crystal mines to the west of Little Rock that I'm considering an intercept during this ice storm, mining quartz crystal out of there in the peak of the ice storm. So there is a mesoscale discussion for this freezing rain happening right now, and I want to show you the surface map to show you the temperatures, which are definitely quite cold out there. And that's why you're getting sleet. You have a deeper cold layer at the surface. The warm nose is not as prominent. Pure sleet in Oklahoma, 12 degrees over 6. So very cold air mass diving south into Oklahoma, single digits across the northwest part of the state. Even 0 across the western Oklahoma panhandle. Temperatures really dive down. And that's why I'm going to hedge a little bit further south, just because of the strength of this Arctic air mass. I think that the belt of pure freezing rain is going to be a little bit south, closer to that I-30 corridor, Hot Springs, up through Little Rock, up to Jonesboro. I think that's going to be your pure freezing rain event, most likely. So I've got a couple decisions to make. I want to show you some forecast soundings as well. We can look at the HRRR model just for fun. And I'm trying to decide. I was going to cover the flooding event here last night, but those prefrontal confluence bands were just a little bit transitory. So I ended up shutting it down, and now I am considering an intercept of this ice storm, strongly considering an intercept of this ice storm. But first I want to break down some of these forecast models. We'll go over a classic sleet sounding versus more of a classic freezing rain event. This is this morning at 7 a.m. Central Time, according to the according to the HRRR model, excuse me, showing you this sleet and freezing rain developing across southern Oklahoma. Does seem to be doing a pretty good job with precipitation type with this initial round of sleet, and this is going to lift up toward the Ozark Mountains as well, a little bit further north than that streamer of freezing rain. It's going to be pure freezing rain, but arrives in Fayetteville, northwest Arkansas. The HRRR shows a pure freezing rain event evolving through the afternoon north of Little Rock and off to the north. Let me show you a forecast sounding here. And look at that classic warm nose in a deep, cold layer at the surface. To me, that looks like more of a sleet sounding. You have a slightly deeper cold layer at the surface. Your warm nose, definitely not as prominent. And that's why I'm going to be hedging just a little bit south. There's your warm nose. See that red line? That's the temperature and your dew point as well. Wet bulb temperature, everything lifts above freezing. So you're going to melt the liquid water within that warm nose, and then it falls into this sub-freezing layer. It is relatively shallow, but it is prominent as well with those temperatures 20 over 18 across northwestern Arkansas. So those liquid water droplets will fall into this shallow sub-freezing layer, freeze into sleet pellets, and then hit the ground. You're going to hear that little pitter-patter on the roof. That's going to be solid sleet. That's going to be a good sign for you because if it does maintain a pure sleet event, then it'll be less in the way of power outages and whatnot. Looking a little bit further south, closer to Little Rock, you have a stronger warm nose. Look at this warm nose. A lot warmer just above the surface. There's your zero line. I'm drawing it right there with the cursor. The blue line, that is the freezing line. And where that nose is above freezing, that's your warm nose. You're going to have the formation of those liquid water droplets. They're going to fall into this shallow sub-freezing layer that's a little bit warmer near the Little Rock area, 29 over 25 degrees. Northeasterly winds helping to maintain that Arctic air mass. And then right where the pivot point is, around where you get the southerly winds, that's right near the warm nose. You're going to see a lot of gravity waves near that inversion as well on radar data. Kelvin-Helmholtz waves. So that's 18Z midday today. Has that first round of freezing rain, and then it's going to be followed by a bit of a streamer on the backside. Let me shimmy that over to the left. There you can see that blob of freezing rain lifting up through the Ozarks into southern Missouri. I have a feeling this is going to be largely sleet as it lifts off to the northeast. And I think you're going to have a belt of pure freezing rain on the southern edge of this really intense precipitation shield. And then by late afternoon, that streamer sets up on the backside, and then you're going to get pure freezing rain. Oh, look at that blob of freezing rain lifting up through southern Illinois. This is at 0Z, and there is going to be a period of freezing rain back behind this event as well, central Arkansas. There's the overnight hours. You should get a reinvigoration of that precipitation. There it is. This is going to be overnight tonight. This is going to be a big problem event right here because I think this is going to be more of that freezing rain setting up tonight, moving through the Little Rock area. 31 over 30, so your surface temperature a little bit warmer. So your cold layer not quite as thick. So that means that the precipitation that is in liquid water is going to fall into this sub-freezing layer and then freeze on impact. So this is going to be these streamers that develop tonight. Looks like more of a pure freezing rain event through central Arkansas. Definitely could get an increase in that precipitation as it moves through. And then little isotropic lift continues through Thursday morning in this band of freezing rain. This is where the problem is going to set up, right along the I-30 corridor, Hot Springs up through Little Rock to the northeast, up toward Jonesboro as well, and the Missouri Boot Heel. Looks like a pretty substantial freezing rain event happening. And it continues through the day on Thursday. Spotty precipitation as well. A reinvigoration of that precipitation moving into Arkansas again during the midday. And look at that, another round of that freezing rain. And by this time, it's possible that the warm advection could erode that warm nose a bit, and then the temperatures will just start to nose above freezing. There it is during Thursday afternoon. It's probably going to be when I'm going to be digging up quartz crystals, but there is your big warm nose, and then you start to warm above freezing, 33 over 32 by Thursday afternoon, and then you get a change over to regular rain. Let's see what the HRRR, this convective allowing model, shows for the ice accumulation, ice accretion. And not surprising, it also does have, and this is all going to be sleet to the northwest. I just think that the HRRR is having trouble discriminating between the different types of ice. I think that this is all going to be sleet off to the northwest. I think this is going to be your belt of freezing rain. Hot Springs, up through Little Rock, up through Jonesboro. Could even get greater than a half an inch of ice accumulation in that swath near the Jonesboro area. Let me slide that a little bit to the right so that you can see it better. And I think, again, this is going to be that belt of freezing rain. I-30 corridor, Hot Springs, up through Little Rock, up to Jonesboro, up through the Missouri Boot Heel. Basically the same track as that December 10 and 11 tornado. That's where I think your period of freezing rain is going to be. And then I think it's going to be mainly sleet across this swath, according to the HRRR. But it's going to be that streamer up through Little Rock, Hot Springs, Little Rock, Jonesboro, up through the Missouri Boot Heel. That I think is going to be where that freezing rain is going to be most substantial. NAM seems to agree. It does a better job with the precipitation types. A regular NAM. You get freezing rain, sleet off to the northwest of it. Not much in the way of snow because of that warm nose. It's going to be pure sleet. Accumulated freezing rain runs a little bit higher. You're not going to have that much accretion, even though it shows 1.33 falling there in Jonesboro. Got to be kidding me with that. Maybe I set up near Jonesboro. So that's where your stripe of freezing rain is going to be greatest. Hot Springs through Little Rock to Jonesboro to far southern Illinois. Really, that swath is going to be where your freezing rain is setting up. Classic ice storm is going to impact this region. And look at it spread up into western Kentucky as well. A little bit further south with that freezing rain stripe in the 12Z NAM. That's why I'm going to hedge a little bit further south on this precipitation shield. Maybe Jonesboro, maybe back toward Hot Springs as well. I'm just going to work this entire stripe. Central Arkansas through Jonesboro, up through the Missouri Boot Heel. And then tomorrow I'm going to try to mine some crystals out of quartz crystals, even though there's going to be some freezing rain as well out there. I'm going to try to get out and mine some quartz crystals to the west of Little Rock. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this morning weather report. We worked hard to chase those the tornado potential yesterday evening. Definitely something missing south of that differential heating boundary, that outflow boundary that was draped across far northern Mississippi into northern Alabama. Did have some tornado warning supercells, some HP storms that were riding that boundary last night. I do think they were elevated above that stable layer at the surface, so that's why there weren't any tornado reports along that differential heating boundary, but you still need to warn those. If you kind of had that stable layer continue to sag south, compressing the favorable thermodynamics away from where the wind shear was favorable for tornadoes. Happens a lot. We knew it was a lower end event, but you got to get out there and chase it just to make sure it doesn't happen. And the storms, of course, aren't going to chase themselves. Now I'm going to pivot off to the west for this ice storm intercept, and likely we'll target Jonesboro back toward Little Rock, and then I'm going to be looking for quartz crystals. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into my weather reports. Thank you, Facebook supporters, as well. I'm going to be doing a live Q&A ahead of this ice storm. I have to do the PDS podcast tonight once I get into the target area, and then I'll try to do that live Q&A right after I do the PDS podcast as well. So thank you, Facebook supporters, for making these live weather briefings possible, for supporting live storm chasing as well. I really appreciate you riding along in my passenger seat these last, 3 or 4 years now. It seems like we've been doing this. Time is definitely flying by. One big storm season out there, year-round pretty much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to my weather reports. Ice storm coverage is next. Never stop chasing.